Okay, this is the P4 paper from January 2023. It's question number 7. This question is 2 different topics. It's differentiation here and later on it's rates of change, but it's also going to be integration because we've got solving a differential equation there and modelling with differential equations. So really long question here. We've got what's that, 6, 11, 12 marks. What I'd very much suggest you do is on your devices, go and just look at the link in the description, get the paper up. So you've got this, you can be looking at it while I'm moving up and down with my actual explanations here so that you can follow through my thought process. But as I say, long question, let's make a start to it. Part A says, we've got the volume of a sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed, and it just says find dv by dr. So no problems with that bit there. A, we've got that v is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed, and differentiating that then, I'm not going to take any time over that, multiply by the power, take 1 off the power, the 3 will cancel, we get 4 pi r squared there for my first mark. And then part B, let's go back and look at the question. Says, okay, at time t, the volume of the balloon is increasing according to the differential equation. dv by dt is equal to that stuff. Given that v is equal to 0 when t is equal to 0, that's how I'll get rid of my constant in a minute, can we solve this differential equation? And it's quite nice that they actually tell me the answer, so if I can't do that bit, I can still get access to some of my other marks here. But B, part 1 is basically saying, can we solve this differential equation? dv by dt is equal to 900 over 2t plus 3 all squared. So when we're doing that then, let's separate out the variables. What that means is I'm going to have dv on this side, and I'm going to have 900 over 2t plus 3 squared dt. Integrate and integrate. So I'll have the integral of dv on this side. I'm going to take the 900 out here. And I'm also going to say that 2t plus 3, or 1 over 2t plus 3 squared is 2t plus 3 to the minus 2 dt. Now I'm going to do this quite quickly, but let's just do a quick explanation of this, but I won't put this in my actual answer. If I've got that the answer, if I've got that the question is anything of this type, when I've got the integral of f dash x and then fx all to the power of n, I can do that by the reverse chain rule. What the reverse chain rule says, I'll actually do it for this one now, is if I've got my answer 2t plus 3 to the minus 2, I can guess, if that's dy by dt, for example, I can guess what I thought my original one was. I've multiplied by the power and taken 1 off the power, so I think that was my start off point. So I'm guessing that might be my integral. So what we would then do is we would say, I think it's that. Let's go ahead and differentiate that now. And if I differentiate that, multiply by the power, take 1 off the power, multiply by the differential of what's in here, and the differential of what's in here is 2. So I now know that the integral of minus 2t plus 3 to the minus 2, that would equal 2t plus 3 to the minus 1. So from there, what I can do is to now integrate it where I've got basically minus a half of that in my question. So I'm not going to put all that in my answer, I'll get rid of that in a second. But so if I'm integrating both sides, integrating the dv becomes v, and integrating the minus 900, the 900, but then I've got minus a half 2t plus 3 to the minus 1. Now, so I'm going to get rid of all of this. If you're not sure how to do those, go back and look at some of the other videos rather than spending more time looking at this one. So that's what I'd have written down quite quickly, because I've got lots of other stuff to do here. And I might tidy that up at, or plus C. Don't forget your plus your constant. And so you can leave it like that, but I'm just going to tidy up a little bit and call it minus 450 and I'm going to put the 2t plus 3 back as 2t plus 3 as a reciprocal there. You don't have to, but it just looks a bit neater as far as I'm concerned. And now we know that t equals 0 when v equals 0. I said that right at the start. That's the way that we would be getting rid of, or rather finding our constant. So if that's true, I'm going to get 0 equals minus 450 over, well, that'll be 3 there, plus c. Okay, so c works out to be equal to 150. And if c works out to be equal to 150, then my final solution is minus 450 over 2t plus 3 plus 150 here. And now let's go back and see what we've got to get it to look like. Okay, so I want it, to look like 300t over 2t plus 3. You know, this is worth a lot of marks. It's worth 5 marks. Let's see if we can do that then. So if I'm going to try and do that, what I'd like to do is to tidy up this right-hand side. So what I'm going to do is to make it into a... I'm not going to spend ages over this. This is minus 450 over 2t plus 3. Make this the same common denominator, so over 2t plus 3 and over 2t plus 3 like that. Multiply that all out, and I'm going to get 300t plus 450 minus 450 all over 2t plus 3. Oh yeah, and then that works out to be it, which is 300t. I've done that a little bit quickly, but that's just in terms of I'm trying to keep this video a little bit briefer than it's going to be. It's already going to be a big one, which is absolutely fine. So there's the last couple of marks on that 5 marker. Let's go back and look at the next question. So hence find the upper limit to the volume of the balloon. So we can say that we can do B part 1. You do B part 2 here. Actually, it's going to be part of the 5 marks. To try and find the upper limit. So what we're saying here then, B part 2, to find the upper limit, what I'm going to say is t is going to become very big. Actually, I'm going to put infinity in. If t is equal to infinity, then v will be as big as it could have possibly have been, or that it will go to that limit then. If you think about it, what we've got, really quickly again, we've got a reciprocal graph here. So if we've got a reciprocal graph, I know it, not exactly this, but it will do something like this at some stage. And if we want a limit here, if we go all the way over to t being equal to infinity, it'll tell us what it doesn't look exactly like that, but I'm just trying to explain that if we put t equals infinity, if we just look at this part of the graph here, as t equals infinity, it approaches whatever the limit's going to be. The graph will not look like that, but just for the idea of what I'm about to do next, which is to say, if I want to find the limit then, if I put t equals infinity in, I'm going to put that into my v. Okay, so I get 300 infinity over 2 infinity plus 3. And then what I always say to my students is, you've got 300 infinity over 2 infinity plus 3. That's going to make no difference now. Adding 300 to infinity does not change it. So I'm actually ending up with 300 infinity over 2 infinity. The infinities can cancel, which gives me 150. Cheap way of doing it, but it will always work on this style of question and is a really quick way of being able to find upper limits of and lower limits of reciprocals. Okay, on to part C now. Gosh, long question already. Where are we? So it says, find the radius of the balloon at t equals 3, giving your answer in centimetres to 3 sig figs. Don't forget about this bit at the end. Don't forget about this bit at the end. They'll take marks off if we aren't careful to go back and make sure we're answering questions properly. So we've got this here. And again, so this is why it's worth you having this question here. You've got to look back through all this now. You've got lots of information here. And what are we looking at? They're asking me for v when t equals 3. So I can just chuck that into that part. Part D here again. For those of you who are struggling with the content of P3, get those marks, okay? Because that has nothing to do with any other part of the question here. Even if you did nothing else on this question, don't give up on them. Read down, so as far as you can get. In this case, part C here. Can I find the radius of the balloon at t equals 3? Well, they want the radius. What I can do, I'll find the volume and I'll put it back in there to find the radius, sorry, okay? So even if I was, struggling myself and going through and doing it, putting that in there and giving yourself the V at least is going to give you some marks. Then realising that if we've got V, we can find R, 3 marks. Let's do it. So T equals 3. V is equal to 300T over 2T plus 3, which is equal to 300 lots of 3 over 2 lots of 3 plus 3. So I'm making it really clear to the examiner what I'm doing. V works out to be equal to 100 if we do that. We didn't want V, I didn't read it properly. We want R, but okay. V is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. So if V is equal to 100 is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed, then 300 over 4 pi is equal to r cubed. I've just checked that up there, that down there, that down there. I'm not showing all the working out for that, but that's what I've done. So let's just jump straight to the answer. R is the cube root of that, and that works out to be 2.88 centimetres. Go back and check, but I've already just highlighted it, haven't I? Go back and check that we're doing it to the right number of significant figures or decimal places. And then part D, last part of a really long question. Find the rate of increase of the radius of the balloon at t equals 3. So rate of increase of radius, dr. Rate of increase, dr by dt. So that's what I'm trying to work out. From my question, I can see up here already that I've got dv by dt, and in the top part I've got dv by dr there. So I would imagine connecting these three. Gosh, look how long this question is. Okay, that's what I'm trying to connect for this last part here, part D. So dv by dt, I'm going to get rid of that stuff that's up there in a second. dv by dt is dv by dr times dr by dt. If they cancelled, I'd get dv by dt, wouldn't I? So that's what I'm going to be using. So get rid of all that stuff. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just tidy this up. So this is my actual answer. This is what it's going to be on my script as I'm going through and doing it. At t equals 3, I think we said. So we've got 900 over 2t plus 3 squared. We've got 4 pi r squared for this bit. And we've got dr by dt. So dr by dt, I just plug everything in. So if you plug everything in here, we're going to have 900 over t. So maybe say t is equal to 3, r is equal to that 2.88 that we just found. So I'm going to have 900 over 6 plus over 9 squared there is equal to 4 pi 2.88 squared. Use the exact value there. dr by dt. This video is really long, so I'm not going to spend much longer than this. dr by dt is one of those values divided by the other one, and that apparently comes out to be 0.11, and it's centimetres per second. If we go back and again, just read the question. Where are we here? It says state the units of your answer. And if we've got r over t, which we have dr over dt, that's going to be centimetres because the question's in centimetres, and that's going to be seconds. So sorry, going back there, either cms minus 1 or cms, whichever of those you prefer. Right, very long question there. Hopefully all those parts make sense to you.